I guess just thoughts on Penn State. What kind of problems do they present?
Well, you talk about Penn State, you got to start with Newbill and Marshall. I mean, they're a great combination, as far as points per game and toughness and leadership, for their team. But you start with them, but it doesn't end there. Ross Travis is a guy who is rebounding as well as anybody in the league right now. Big fella, Sasa, he's played with like a renewed passion now, I guess, being that this is his last year. So him and the coach have talked about. So he's really improved from last year and watching film. Then you've got a young kid, a freshman in Brandon Taylor, who I'm very familiar with. I actually followed him a lot last summer, and I know what he's capable of. I kind of compare him to a young Christian Watford and how he plays and his versatility and things that he's been able to do, down to Donovan Jack even coming off the bench. Another kid I actually recruited, Marquise Marsh for the Townsend, so I saw Donovan Jack a lot towards the end of the last year. And, he hasn't played that many minutes, but he's somebody who's very capable as well. And then you got Kalela, who's obviously a great three-point threat. Over 91% of his points come from the three-point line. Going into last game, he had shot 50% over the last 5 games from the three-point line. And, he got to know where he is at all times. He plays about 24 minutes a game. So they're a team that's going to play hard. I mean, they're definitely take after their coach. There's no quitting them. I mean, they've been dealt with some adversity, obviously, with one of the best players in the country going down. But they've battled through. They were right in it to the end. Last game, I thought they had a chance to win that game. And they do a lot of things as far as how they defensive rebound and their strategy going into each game is very, very solid.
You have a lot of veteran guys on the team, a lot of guys who played a lot of minutes, but how does just getting, for this year's team, getting that first road game under their belt and behind them, how's that helped this team going forward?
We've been preparing for it. I mean, it's something that I think I touched on in the past. I mean, we prepare for each and every situation kind of every day. I think getting out there and getting that first road game under your belt was good for us. I mean, anytime you get a road win in this league, it's something that you never take for granted. So acclimating the freshmen into that type of atmosphere and allowing them to see what it's like, guys who maybe have a little bit different roles than what they had in previous years, and now you're taking them on the road. And one thing that we're really putting emphasis on is making sure that our communication travels. Your scoring may not always travel, but if your defense and your communication can travel, you're always going to give yourself a chance. And it's something that has to happen in this league to be successful.
Coach Green said that the Iowa game was one that you guys could take a lot from, that you could learn a lot from. I guess, what do you feel like you guys have did take from that game? What were kind of the biggest, lessons learned from that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to simulate adversity. So basketball's a game of runs. We're making our run, they're making their runs, and their crowd is in it, and we have to, like I just touched on, make sure we make our defensive adjustments. I think they started off, maybe they had 9 of their first 10 field goals in the second half after not shooting well in the first half, and getting that timeout and making an emphasis on concentrating on our defensive principles, continuing to have great shot selection, and just coming together as a team. I mean, it's nothing like the road, to help a team bond even at a higher level than you may have thought previously possible.
The week break, is that an advantage? Is it too early to tell? But just having that week, basically the week break between games.
I think anytime, the level that we work at, the intensity level of it, I mean, it's always a positive for us to get in and really emphasize certain things. I think the things that we've, leading into games that we really emphasize, we've always come out and done well. So when you have that week break, you're able to lock in on yourselves as much as you're able to lock in on the next opponent. We're going to be going through stretches here where we're not going to have as much time to go back and really re-emphasize things that we want to do, because we got to concentrate on making sure we're prepared for the next opponent. So, and in this break, if you want to call it a break from school or a break between games, you're able to really focusing on a lot of the fundamental things that we want to get fixed. A lot of individual player development stuff that we're able to get accomplished without taxing the bodies as much, and just really getting a lot of mental reps, a lot of film work, a lot of things that we think will benefit us not only for our next opponent but down the line.
How important is a week like this for a guy like Hunter now that he's been in some different environments, he's been on the road, he's about 3 weeks, a few games under his belt. I mean, is his approach maybe changed a little bit in practice now?
His approach hasn't changed, but I think everything slows down for you the more you get involved in it. I mean, there's no substitution for experience, basically. So, I mean, Hunter, you see the daily improvements. The game is slowing down for him. I mean, I look at him and I think he's a vastly different player from 3 days ago. Just looking at his level of understanding of what we want to get accomplished, his level of comfort in the system, his level of comfort with his teammates. The guys are great with communicating with each other, in this type of environment. So he's never been out of it mentally, but the physical reps, and then, Coach Crean does a great job of creating adverse situations even in practice that the guys have to communicate through. And I think that he's now, as opposed to just hearing and taking instruction, now he's able to verbalize and understand where we're at. And I think that, it's only a matter of time before he's able to take off and be as productive as he is in practice and games.
What do you think, what are kind of the biggest areas he has to progress, and what are the biggest areas we've actually seen him get better?
Then no different than any of the other guys. I think that, once again, I talk about communication, but him communicating, his stamina obviously isn't where the other guys' stamina may have been at times. But I think that he's done a much better job of really pushing himself to get himself back up to speed, stamina-wise, and understanding the physicality of the game, and just, grasping the game plan and really starting to execute.
You mentioned Newbill and Marshall at the beginning, basically. How different do they operate without Frazier, I guess, and, what about Newbill has allowed them to, kind of keep it together with Frazier out?
Yeah, I think Newbill, Frazier, he was a do-everything guard. There's a substitution for him, but I think that guys have been able to transition. Newbill's taken on a lot more of the point guard responsibilities, almost exclusively for them. So, and he's also has the role of being a lead scorer for them, currently through this last stretch. Marshall is someone that's very dangerous. As you saw last game, he had 19 points coming out on the road at Wisconsin. But Newbill transitioning into the league, he's a guy who's got, he's very good. He doesn't really have many weaknesses as far as his ability to drive the ball hard to the right. He's good pull-up jumpers. He's good getting to the basket. I think he has that Warriors mentality. So just having his advanced level of, he's probably playing a little more minutes than he may have had to play at the one with Chester there. But and even with Marshall here, he's being counted on to score the ball for them, at a high rate, night in, night out. But those guys, you can tell even looking at the film and how they communicated when they had some adverse situations, even against Wisconsin. You can see them leading the huddles if you watch the game on film, and those guys are going to have the ball in their hands. It's somebody that you're going to have to account for every single possession. They're competitors.
One more question for King.
I guess just how important what do you tell your team for early conference games, especially on the road like this, to not let them sort of sneak up on you, as they sometimes can, in terms of being sort of trap games or whatnot?
I don't think we're in a position to consider any games trap games right now. Our quest is always to try to maximize ourselves as a team, figure out how good we can possibly be. And, you approach each game, with the same amount of respect. So the preparation that we're doing for this game is matched every game that we've done up to this point. So it's really about making sure that we, are prepared to go out there and defend, execute offensively and communicate. It's really about making sure those three things travel with us, no matter where we're at, no matter what the opponent is.